Many times Jesus taught people through a story. We know the story after he was asked the question of who is my neighbor, when he talked about loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And that's when we have the famous story of the Good Samaritan. And think about how that story has lived on through the centuries to even today. There are how many hospitals called Good Samaritan? But I think in doing the stories that Jesus told, he gave us a bit of a license. Not that our stories match Jesus in any way, but I like to make up stories. I love to make up stories with my children when they were younger. Before they go to bed, I would always make up a story, trying to impart to them some principle that I think was valid and important for them to learn. So this particular story that I'd like to talk is a story about how we, as God's children, impress the Father, our Father who is God, our Maker. How do we impress him? So the story involves two siblings. And these two siblings are fairly close in age, but they have diverse abilities. One of the siblings has a brilliant mind, a real brilliant mind, and seems to be able to comprehend all kinds of facts and understanding. And the other sibling, his younger sibling, his aptitude is not very scholastic. He doesn't seem to do well in some of the academic classes that he takes, and he struggles. And here is the setting. There is exams coming, and the brother who is brilliant, he wants desperately to impress his father. And he realizes that the tests that are being given are going to be scored on this level, that whoever is the top student, whoever gets the highest score on the exam, is going to get a prize and going to have honor bestowed on him, that he believes if he could win this prize, and he thinks he can become the top student, there'll be articles written about him, there'll be an interview that he'll have on television, and he will get all kinds of acclaim. And he believes that in doing that, he'll bring honor not just to his father, but to the family. So he's working really, really hard. And try to picture now, as he's walking to his room where he has his desk to study, he has to walk by his younger brother. And he sees his brother sitting at the desk. And he could tell that his brother's struggling because he has to take these exams as well. And the thought comes to him, it just sort of pops into his head, if I would take the time and tutor my brother and really take the time to help him, I could probably raise his grade so he won't fail the test, but he would pass the test and might even do a little bit better than he would normally do. But then he goes to his room and he says, but if I do this and I spend the next several days working with him, that's going to take away from me honing my skills and really studying the way I want to study, to be assured that I can get that top grade, that I can win that top prize, and I can bring the honor that I want to bring to my father and his family, and our name will be all over the country as, this family name is now the top student in the country. So he goes back to his room and he makes the decision that he thinks it's best that he not spend the time to help his younger brother, but that he works really hard so that he could bring this glorious honor to his father and the family. So now comes the time for the test. So the tests are taken, they're done, and waiting for the scores to come out, and it turns out that the older brother won the prize. He was the top student, he got the highest score, and his teachers came to him and said, you were the top student, and we're going to have a special ceremony, and there's going to be cameras there, and we're going to have a special dinner, and we're going to honor you, and you can invite your family to come. And it's a really, really big deal. So he is so excited, really, really excited to tell his dad. Now, the younger brother receives his score, and he's pretty dejected. He didn't do very well. Even though he worked hard and did his best, he just didn't get to the grade that he needed to come to. So now let's move to both brothers having to present to their father their report cards, their test scores. So they walk into their father's room, and he's sitting in his study, and the two boys come in. And one boy comes in, and he's elated, and he's excited, and he says, Dad, I can't wait to tell you, look at this. And he shows him his card, and it says, excellent, number one, he won the prize. And he says, Dad, I got the highest grade, and there's going to be a special dinner, and our family's going to be honored, and you're going to get to sit in a special seat, and this is going to be so wonderful, and I'm just so happy to give this to you as a gift, for you and for our family's name. And the father takes the card and takes it and looks at his son and says, without a lot of emotion or without the exuberance that his son expected to get, he expected him to go, oh, so great, give him a hug and say, this is the most amazing thing, I'm so proud, I'm so excited. Rather, he says, well done, that was very good, you did a great job, and that's wonderful. And then he looks at his younger son, who's dejected, and he presents his card to his dad. And his head is down, and the father looks and sees that the score was not passing. And he grabs his son and gives him a big hug. And he says, it's okay. It's really okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to get better. And he's giving all this attention to his the son that didn't do very well. And finally, the older brother can't take it anymore. And he says, what's going on here? And he interrupts and says, Dad, I'm really, Father, I'm upset. You're hugging him and you're making all this to-do over him failing. And I just brought to you something that I thought would be the most honorable thing to do out of love and care for our family and for you. And you're just acting like, oh, it's okay. You're not as exuberant as I'm expecting you to be. And then the father says this to him and says, son, let me explain something to you. So he takes his older son aside and he has this conversation with him. And he says, you're very bright and I'm very proud of what you've done, except it would have brought more joy to my heart and it would have brought more honor to our family if you would have taken the time to help your brother go beyond his present limitations. Because with your gift, you could have imparted some of that to your brother, your younger brother, and that would have helped him get to a place he couldn't have gotten on his own, but with your help he could. And that would have brought to me the greatest sense of fulfillment. That would have brought to me an excitement and a joy that I pray someday will be in your heart. And the older brother looks at his dad and he's kind of perplexed. And then he says, but Dad, don't you want our family to be honored? I mean, we're going to be in the newspaper, we're going to be on TV, we're going to be all over the internet. I mean, we're like, our name's going to, this is a big deal. And the father says, son, all of that notoriety, which I understand makes a lot of sense to you, but what's far more important to me, and if you want to know how I feel, and what I think and what I place the highest value on is you serving and loving your brother and giving what you have received to him. Because he has something also to give to you, and we could discuss that further. So in this story that I'm trying to lay out to you, that I made up for my children, and I made up in a sermon one time, I think God is saying to us in the body of Christ that we are called to serve one another and take each other up to levels that we can never go individually, but coming together as God's children and actually taking what he deposited in each one of us and offering that in service to our brothers and sisters, and vice versa. We will together, as the body of Christ, be the family that God intends us to be and set the example and the tone in this world that is all taken up by self-adulation, that we would actually change that whole perspective and dynamic, and we could be what Jesus encouraged us to be, the true light of the world, and show the way that our Father, who created all of us, all the families of the earth, come from the same origin. And he has a plan that we would live a certain way, and we would love a certain way. And that's what Jesus meant when he said, I believe, in my opinion, when he said, I'm giving you a new commandment. I want you to love one another as I loved you and as I love you. And if you think about that, what Jesus said to his disciples is, I'm loving you in a way that I'm exchanging my place and coming into your world so that you can move from where you are into the place God has destined you to be. So I'm going to the cross for you. And I think he's calling each one of us to take that same example and look at our brothers and sisters and not think of just getting the trophy for ourselves. What's going to bring honor to his family is that we care for each other the way this story that I tried to explain to you depicts. Thank you.